Hello, friend. So happy to have you for this episode of the Enneagram and Marriage podcast. We're in our midweek, and I hope that whenever you are listening, you are ready to talk about secure attachment, what it actually looks like in marriage. You know that all month we've been talking about attachment, the ways that we connect with other humans in order to feel safe and secure. And you deserve to have an episode dedicated to exactly how to do this, both here as well as if you want deeper coaching on the Deeper Dive Pod on Apple. So I'm so excited you're joining me today. This is week 3. We have also had an awesome episode on Monday with Allie Patterson, who reminded us of those 5 relationships we need throughout life so we don't have all core people or all people who are just alongside us with teamwork. And I was thinking about that actually as a follow up to my blog and pod on Monday to say, yeah, like you really need to know that just crowd involvement is not enough. Like, for instance, if my Pure Bar that I go to was all I had, that's not enough. And I may tell myself the story. It is because I'm hanging out with people, but it's literally 2 minutes. How are you? How are the kids? Those kind of small things before and after class or a silly laugh. But there's not a real heart to heart unless you decide to take it to that next level. So for you, maybe that's your jujitsu or that's maybe your adult ballet class, whatever it is, keep in mind that you need connections and especially with people who you are not attracted to. Like many of my clients have to work through that. I've had to work through that. Like everyone has to work that as well, where you go, okay, like who are my people and how can I make sure that I'm connecting with people who would be wise? Like, for instance, if somebody asks you to do a big project and you know, this is not a person I should have in my core, then go with that gut because that's important. But also understand those auxiliary people just cheering you on in your running club or in your space where you do yoga. Those are your people too. It's just a different level. So I just want you to not forget about those kinds of attachment too. And also, yay for the fact that we are in the middle of a week of taking care of mental health. I actually just read in my teletherapist network, another group I'm a part of, that's a community group. And they were saying how people are doing 5% better with mental health care this week and this year, actually. And I was thinking how this week we have the wonderful Type-ish Tyler Zach's group doing the mental health summit. So make sure you check that out. It's live right now. I will be up tomorrow on day 3. It started yesterday, Tuesday, but so excited to have you there. That is another place where you can get mental health care, just not a therapist, of course, although you may find one there that you want to work with, because there are certainly trauma therapists there, the Allender Center, Adam Young, others, but just a space to learn, to grow. It's free for the first 30 hours every day. And like I said, I'll be on tomorrow with that. Plus, we also have our coaches group tomorrow. So there's so much going on, and I am so happy and thankful for those who are actually investing in more of that deeper dive, not necessarily core with each other, but a group where you are still allowing for that comrade relationship that Allie talked about on Monday. Like you have people who are aligned, like we're all going to help couples, or we're all going to do, maybe we're going to invest in helping kids that are being trafficked to find their way out and to find the light again. Like people that you're peer working close with to make the world a better place. Like those relationships are so important. And then lastly, for just the announcement within the calendar, if you're a person of faith, we are starting Lent today. It is definitely a day when you might want to duck into a church and get your ashes. It is Ash Wednesday. I know my best friend was leaving me a message yesterday. Hey, it's Fat Tuesday. I'm like, oh my gosh, do I need another excuse for a Starbucks? But the truth is, a lot of people on today, Ash Wednesday, make a decision up through Easter to take a time of just allowing for repentance, allowing for thoughtfulness, allowing for a space to really connect with God more, and sometimes even say, I'm going to stop doing something else that's going to leave me more focused on my relationship with God. And that does not have to be, of course, punitive. It should not be. It should be grace filled. We don't want any Reverend Dimsdales out there from the Scarlet Letter. You remember I was reading that with Jack. We are now in the Count of Monte Cristo, an entirely different type of revenge book. But just you get my point. Make sure you take good care of yourself. Make sure you allow some space if you're a person of faith to ask God, what do you want to do in my life right now? And for me, the thing God has been really calling me to is to stop rushing. And that was just such a good word I got this week. And I even started to meditate on a scripture about it that really just blessed me. And so I just want to allow that reminder to you also in your attachment. Don't forget your attachment with God. Don't forget to balance out these kinds of relationships and to just look at your life and go, which ones are the places and spaces I could really go deep with? Which are the ones where I'm coming alongside of people to share a mission? Which ones are the spaces that it's more just we're just influencing each other, but we're farther away, right? Like some of the people at work, if you're doing IT and you're helping, but this is great, this is beautiful, but it's not going to give you your core needs. So today we're talking about in your marriage, especially the secure attachment. And when you both feel safe and seen and able to be yourself, oh my gosh, it's such a win. So just know that. And we're going to be remembering it's not about perfection. It's about repair and trust and showing up with consistency as much as possible. So whether you're anxiously attached, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, avoidantly attached, also talked about a couple weeks ago, or somewhere in between, today's episode is going to give you that greater sense of security in your relationship because earned security is real. It is possible you guys can have that. It does not mean you'll do it perfectly, but yes, you're going to do a great job. So today we're talking about secure attachment. And I want to start out by saying that, and it might surprise you, it's not just about being at all times in that regulated nervous system state. It's about repair. It's about showing up and trusting that the relationship can handle your real self while also making sure that you know that your real self needs to keep growing because your real self has places and spaces that are still not as mature as some of the other parts of you. So we want to mature you, but also have you guys accept each other just exactly the way you are. So let me share a few markers of secure attachment first. So, one of the markers of secure attachment as a relationship is you can be honest about your needs without fear. So, you can say what you need. And so, you can say this through the lens of your type. You can say this through the lens of you might know even more about yourself. You might be one of those people who knows your tri-type or your wings or your arrows, and you can start even using that language. Like, wow, I've really left this part of my life undeveloped. It's starting to show I need some care in this area, or maybe I need some space to process because I feel overwhelmed and overloaded by the amount of time we're spending together. And without worrying that your spouse will punish you, abandon you, or shame you for it, because you're starting to trust that your needs matter. And your spouse is trusting that their needs matter too. That's the key. So you're also modeling to them, hey, I can handle your needs. And I know I told Wes yesterday, I was like, today's going to be a busy day. I'm going to get up early with you. Let's make breakfast together. Let's start it out great. And he was all for it. And he was already starting to cook when I got up. And then he was like, I know you have a busy day today. And I was able to just say yes. And this is what I'm doing for self-care on it. This is good that you know that about my day. And then I welcomed like, wow, Wes, you had such a crazy day yesterday. Right back at you. Just really want to support that you got through something huge and you deserve to be celebrated for that. Just allow yourself to have a normal pace day today. And that's because we're talking about what's happening in our lives because we become increasingly healthy. And it does not mean that we won't hit a rock, right? It doesn't mean that that will always be the case, but it does mean that generally speaking, it probably will. We'll probably keep growing. And then sometimes it's like two steps forward, one back, is what I'm saying. So just keep growing, even if you're not to that point yet where you feel safe, because that's what secure attachment is. It's saying, this is what's hard for me today. And Wes was also like, I have some TMJ. And I'm like, here's the name to my dentist. She's amazing. And he knows her. But it's like, just caring for each other and not feeling afraid to say I'm in pain. And so it's physical pain, it's emotional pain, but also being a mature adult who self-regulates, right? Like not stopping like I'm in this and I have to have you give up your whole day to take care of me. Now we all have days like that, right? Where occasionally that happens. But that's rare, right? That does not for most of us happen all the time because we also have to be differentiated adults. And if you check out my talk on the mental health summit tomorrow, Thursday, you will see that I talk all about that differentiation and family systems. So make sure you tune in on that if you need more about that. Now, the second marker of secure attachment in a relationship is that your conflict does not threaten the relationship. You can fight and you will fight, but you don't fear that that one argument means divorce. You don't weaponize the relationship during conflict, and you don't threaten to leave. You know repair is possible and you know you'll come back together. So, in other words, you're saying, hey, I love you. I thank you for taking some time. I'm giving you 4 to 5 positives. I'm giving you a lot of grace. But I'm also saying this part of the relationship isn't working and we need to look at that carefully. And that is safe to do so because I'm going to be gentle and kind as we do so. It does not mean you won't also be strong, by the way, but gentle and kind. And that will help you a lot because you're really going to be hard pressed if you keep showing your true love. Like, I love you so much, and I hope you feel that. And how can I make you feel more loved at the same time? Here's what's got to change and shift. Maybe it's you're using this language with me. You're short with me lately. You're forgetting my love language, right? The thing maybe that we talked about first, which is what you need right now. And hey, I need to make a note that that's not happening for me. So that's really important. And I'm really proud of you if you can really trust that you are strong to do this conflict thing well. And if you do need those breaks, like many of us do, anywhere from the 20 minutes to 30 minutes to, hey, it's late, it's the next day, or it's not the good time, the kids just interrupted, that you're coming back soon to do that. Now, the next thing you need for secure attachment, number 3, is you can turn to each other in hard times. So when life gets overwhelming, not only can you share your needs without fear, but you can say, I'm stressed, I'm scared, I'm grieving, I'm angry. And I can tell you about that because you don't have to handle everything alone. And you trust that they can handle your emotions and won't collapse under the weight of them. Now, again, differentiation says, when I do this, I'm going to make sure you're in a regulated window of tolerance state. That's the difference for anyone who's just thinking, oh man, I've tried that before. Well, you probably caught them when they weren't in a healthy place. So you got to figure out what is your self-soothing and coping. And I know that's, we have to juggle to do that. This is adulting, guys. But keep finding the things. I found something just this week that helps us to regulate so that we can turn toward each other in hard times. And that was very silly. Wes and I picked out for Jack for his Valentine's the game we had when Wes was in medical school, Bananagrams. And the family has just been loving that this week. And just, every day, everybody's been like, for the last 4 or 5 days, hey, let's play this. And you get your own time with your own little mini crossword. And we're a word family, obviously. So everybody is good at it, decently good at it. Everybody likes it. You have to find your family's thing, and it might be this, but you're not waiting for other people's turns, which makes people more inherently go to phones and other devices. And instead, the volume, if you're in a heightened state, like maybe I've had 2 couples that day that were heightened, and I've done my best to give them my nervous system to regulate. Maybe my kids have had stressful things they've needed to talk about with me, and there goes more nervous system regulation. So by the time we're doing whatever, maybe it's a workout, maybe it's this game or something else, the volume gets turned down on the nervous system. And now all of a sudden, when your spouse needs you, you are available for them in that hard time. So you're responsible for regulating yourself so that you can be. And I'm just sharing, this was one fun way I noticed every single person was able to regulate with this because we were all doing our own little mini crossword puzzles. Not perfect. There was a couple people who threw a little too hard of the when somebody's like peel, you have to like everyone has to get new tiles, and then somebody's like like the competitive types. So know that you've got to make sure you find your thing. It will change over the years on what it is. Now, we just have a couple more, just three more. Four is you can be yourself without performing. That is another sign that you're securely attached. And so, similar to sharing your needs and knowing that you can turn towards each other, so is it true that you need to know that your spouse accepts you, quirks and all, right? It does not mean that they think everything is super endearing. That is idealistic, but they accept it, right? Like I had a couple not long ago in a group we were leading, and she said, my husband accepts my eccentricities. We both accept each other's eccentricities. And they were just naming that they were wearing certain items, or it was like a hat or something. Like they accept my quirk that I love to wear this special hat in this weird way. And it's like, that's so cute, right? Like you can be yourself. You don't have to perform. And maybe with your friends and family, you do. Or I know Wes had a t-shirt from his run that he did like years ago. And then the kids were always teasing, but then they bought him another one because they know he loves that shirt. And it's cute, right? That's like your shirt, like your whoopee or whatever from I think it was Mr. Mom. There's this attachment. We call them the transitional object in the psychological world. But either way, it's like, people know your quirks. They know what you like to do. And even if it feels very silly to other people, you guys just need to be real together and not perform fakeness, but be real, be quirky. Okay, just a couple more. So you extend and receive grace when you and your spouse mess up or forget something or say something hurtful. You breathe and you extend grace without keeping score. It may be something that you do have to eventually say, hey, I notice this keeps happening. When can we talk about it? Again, keep yourself kind when you do that, but doesn't mean you don't say the things that need to be said, but it does mean you give grace because you recognize we all have that human fundamental attribution error and that you mess up too. So when you mess up, you receive grace without spiraling into shame or defensiveness. Now, the last one is you have interdependence, not codependence and not independence. You have your whole life, right? Together and apart. You have your own interests, your own identity, but you also stay deeply connected. You can be close without losing yourself and independent without disconnecting. And also, you can earn the secure attachment if you're not there yet. Maybe you guys are too colluded and you're like, everything we're doing is together and it's making us feel like siblings or, annoying roommates that we're just no space. And you might have to say, what are we going to do that gives us a little independence? And that's good. And there might be other times when you realize we're too far apart. We have so much going on that we're just two ships passing in the night. I see couples with both all the time. And it's a constant dance. You're always learning each new season. So remember that it's important to find things to connect you. You've heard me say me and Wes are in the book The Frozen River right now. It's a really nice way to get some time together to read just the two of us. But what I was going to tell you is we don't always do that every night. I would say we've been doing that 2 to 3 nights a week in these breakfasts 2 times, 3 times a week, because we also need time where we're thoughtful and reflective and doing our own thing. So just know that allowing yourself some thoughtful interdependence. If your spouse travels a lot, you have to work a little harder, but you can still do it. Find ways to connect through text. Make special appointments with yourself to build them up, just like you would do for your flossing. Like this is so much more important, your secure attachment. Okay. So I also want to help you if you're just briefly in that space where you're like, I did not grow up with secure attachment. Maybe my parents were so anxious or avoidant or inconsistent. And I've not yet learned that my needs matter and that closeness is safe. And I want to help you to know that you can earn it through just a couple ways. One of them is through just taking the steps we said as graciously as possible. Also, there could be that you're in a marriage where a securely attached partner models it for you, as much as that might not feel ideal because we want to come in with our best selves. A lot of times that's how we do it. We are with somebody who is healthy and then they show us. Or how I've experienced with Wes is we're each healthy in different ways. So we have to look like, how can I learn this and that from you? Also, just so you know, therapy coaching can help you process those attachment wounds and help you do the work when you say, can we talk about this together with you? Because this is a little too hard. Or you've heard me say, like, there's couples where they're like, we would never get this far if you weren't here. If we were at home, we wouldn't be as regulated because they just never had it modeled to them. So sometimes, even for just a little while, you need a coach to help you who is skilled or trauma informed. And it's worth it. And maybe for a little longer because you might say we have issues that go really deep, and that's a worthy investment. Now, you also need consistent repair in your marriage so that every time you fight and come back together, you're building secure attachment. And every time you hurt each other and apologize and forgive, you know you're building secure attachment. Every time you show up when it's hard, you're building. And know that it's not built in the good times, it's built in the repair. And that might sound so frustrating to those of you who just want a perfect, easy life, but know that nervous systems get dysregulated all the time. And so you cannot live in a perfect bubble where nothing ever happens. And if you do, enjoy it while it lasts because that is not you guys really having secure attachment. That's just you having fun. It reminds me of John Raffio from the Parks and Rec show that we love so much, where he's just a partier and he's not taking life seriously and he's there for the good times. And the minute bad things happen, he's gone. And that's so avoidant or anxious attachment, depending on which day he was having it, usually avoiding because he was off drugging or something. But you guys are doing the work. This is a fictional character that I'm using to show you what not to do. So remember, the repair in your marriage is real and it's going to cost, but it's worth it. And then lastly, self-awareness awareness and intentionality are so key to just know your patterns, right? Like, okay, this is when I get anxious. This is when I get withdrawing. For me, this is a 7 when I'm running and I have to choose differently. And it's not fun sometimes, but it's worth it. And your Enneagram work can help you with your default patterns. So just as we close, let me remind you of a few things, just a little romance, like not romance, but a little roadmap kind of space to do this work together. So even for the types, and I'll start with 9. So 9. Okay. You guys are going to stop numbing out for your peace. That is going to be a very big key is you practicing using your voice and trusting that conflict will not ruin everything. 8, you're going to stop controlling to feel safe. You're going to practice using your voice gently. Softness. Let your spouse see your tender heart, not just your strength. 7s, you already heard me say it. We're going to need to stop escaping, especially when it's not fun. Staying, sitting in discomfort, and finding a way to self-regulate and trusting that your pain is handleable. I'm having that space where I was like, my words are not coming out perfectly, and I was like, handleable. Yes, got it. Okay, if that's even a word. For 5s, you're gonna want to stop withdrawing when things get emotional and practice staying present. That is a big one for you guys. So share your inner world even when it feels vulnerable, just a little bit, just one step closer. 4s, stop testing to see if your spouse will stay or leave and practice trusting and seeing the good more because I know you're wired to have that melancholy thinking, but practice trusting they're staying. The relationship can be ordinary sometimes. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. And 3s, stop just achieving to prove your worth because I know that can feel like the one way you have to do life, and it's not. You show up as that real self, like talk about, like the quirks and all will help so much. You are loved for who you are, not what you do. For our 2s, also stop giving to earn love and just let your spouse see your mess and trust that they won't really want to manipulate you if you do show your mess, or they won't leave you. And you might need to ask them like, hey, I'm feeling vulnerable, but I'm feeling like I should probably tell you the truth. I'm not always doing great. Sometimes I'm giving out of a bad place, and I would just love to be just loved without giving. And I think they'll be more really love seeing your humility. And then for our ones, just allow yourself to stop performing the perfection so much. Let your spouse see your mess. I know you have to show some goodness because that's who you are, some like order. That's a gift, but also just know that if you don't have it all together, you are still loved. You know that? You do not have to be perfect. I love to tell my husband that. So, in order to get all this moving in a beautiful way, just remember a few practical tools: a daily check in. Hey, how are you? What do you need from me today? That's a great way to be vulnerable and then realistic, right? If they say, I need you to do all this, I don't know if I can today. Like yesterday, I said to Wes, do you need me to bring you lunch? Because he ended up at a work day where he was on call and very much alone, like I said, just so swamped. And he was like, I would love for you to bring me a smoothie. And so Jack and I really had fun just visiting him. It was very unusual to just leave our work. Actually, we brought our work with us. We did our work the entire time. And it was good. We had a good conversation about government and biology and reading our book together, The Count of Monte Cristo. But we also served Wes in a unique way. So be ready for them to say, yes, I need something. And then you can't, hey, I can't do that, but I can do this. Don't forget your repair rituals are going to help too. So maybe after an argument, you come back in for a hug. Maybe it's, hey, I love you so much. I'm not ready to talk about it yet, but you are secure. Maybe it's going for a walk together. I forgive you kind of a thing, grabbing their hand first. And maybe it's scheduling a date night. Like one of my clients told me, I scheduled a date night even though I didn't want to, and we had a good time. Hey, yay, I love it. So make it a practice, not an accident. And then name your patterns. So maybe you name it. I'm anxious right now. I'm in my anxious attachment mode, or I'm in my avoidant attachment mode and I'm about to spiral. Can you reassure me, or can you give me some space because I'm a bit overwhelmed? Naming your patterns helps your spouse to see what's happening with you and prevents misunderstanding. So, guys, as you leave today, I want you to think about the one thing that I said today that really stuck out, because we said quite a bit, and allow yourself to make a plan to bring that in more. And then come back to this episode for more when you need it. It is here for you. It is waiting for you. And so is all the rest of what we talked about today, the mental health conference. I hope you have a meaningful Lenten season as you think about just this journey of Christ going to the cross and allowing yourself to see that humble, compassionate walk of you are loved, you are given grace. So go ahead and walk in that now. Okay. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you again for listening with us. It was so wonderful to have you. I love knowing we're doing this journey together, not perfectly, but with love, grace, and hopefully some fun too. If you loved today's episode, make sure you leave us a 5-star review at Apple Podcast or Spotify so others can find it too. Visit our show notes so you can get all the links from today's show, as well as enneagramandmarriage.com, the Instagram, the Facebook, and all over the place. Make sure you spread the word. Love living intentionally with you. Bye-bye.